Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prospero.ai stock market live streams. We have a bit of midday volatility going on here we have to get into today. It looked like everything was looking green after CPI came out this morning, which we will also go over later on. But good news on the USA China tariff trade talks, but we've dipped into the red this afternoon. The QQQ, SPY, Dow, and Russell are all in the red here, and the VIX is up just about 1% right now. So a little bit of volatility, which the Prospero net option sentiment signals have been forecasting. The SPY remains low in the single digits. Let's see exactly where it is now. SPY net option sentiment in the Prospero app is at 3, and QQQ net option sentiment is at 41. So QQQ and tech remaining much stronger and at much more bullish levels. It's actually just above our 40 line, which separates bull versus bearish in the indices. So QQQ just above that, SPY well below it. So a lot to digest, a lot to go over today. Like I said, the CPI and the China trade talks is our first thing to get into with how it's affecting the overall market here. Then we'll discuss Jensen Huang making comments on quantum, which I believe are moving nuclear and quantum stocks today. Actually, Sam Altman also made a blog about how the levels of energy that will be needed. I think that could be helping the nuclear stocks out as well. But we've been highlighting them a lot recently. Let's see. They're up like 20%-ish today. Let's check in on Oklo. Oklo is up 26.5% now. SMR is up 17%. So both of those stocks able to go a lot higher, and a lot of the quantum names are also up as well. So we'll get into those stocks. Then we're going to talk about Disney and Universal suing an AI company called Midjourney for using their content in some of their AI generated stuff like Star Wars and The Simpsons, as well as some other films. So it's something we highlighted recently with the New York Times and Reddit, and I don't know what's going to happen with this, how it's going to play out for these AI companies. Probably going to have to pay some fee, but we'll talk about that. Disney stock has been looking better recently, and it was actually in our short-term bull list this morning. Let's see if it's still in there this afternoon. So the short-term bull list, if you're new to the Prospero app and signals, is when you first open the app and it's that list of stocks that pop up. Disney is not there right now, but I'm sure it's, let's see if its signals are still looking pretty good. Disney, a stock that's done nothing for a decade now, right? 75 net option sentiment, 74 upside. So yes, still looking pretty good in the signals. Then we're going to get into Elon Musk now apologizing publicly to Donald Trump for his tweets last week. Tesla stock was reacting well. It's regained all of the losses it had during that whole debacle. So we talked about it on Monday, but now we've got another update. Is George ready to jump back into Tesla? Let's see how the net option sentiment and upside breakout are looking for Tesla. I think George said he wanted to give it some time too. It wasn't just all about the signals. Upside still at 100, net option sentiment at 69 though. So I think he said he wants to see net option sentiment up there as well. Then we're going to get into Meta stock, which Meta made a big investment furthering their positioning in the AI landscape. Almost $15 billion investment in Scale AI. Dr. Carter reposted this stream. Cool, thank you. What's up, Matt? Thanks for reposting it. I see a comment that's actually from X. So for our YouTube viewers, we see the X and the YouTube comments in our stream. So thank you for the repost. Yeah, so we're going to go over Meta, what it means for them with their AI investment. Very big one in this company that I think a lot of people are starting to get pretty hyped about the innovations that Scale AI is making. Then I want to highlight, as I always like to do, a stock that's probably not on a lot of your radars, but it's made a massive move in the downward direction since it's been a public company. I will wait to reveal the stock until we get into it so you guys can take your best guesses. I'll give you a little bit of info so you're not shooting blindly here. So this company is in the food industry. It IPO'd within the past 5 years, and it's currently down 82, just over 82%. So if that rings a bell for any of you, you can take your best shot at guessing. I'll let you know if you get it right or wrong, but we're going to get into that stock and just why it has had such bad performance in its 4+ years. Then I want to go over this $1,000 for every child born in America idea being floated around Trump accounts, which parents can additionally add up to $5,000 per year for their children. I think Robinhood even unveiled a video of what they've been working on and how they could make it easy for parents to set up. What would this mean for the stock market, for kids that are born in America going forward? Who's going to benefit the most, like Robinhood or other legacy banks? Fake meat company? No, that's not it, but that's a good guess. Let's check in on Beyond. I haven't looked at Beyond Meat in a while. It's probably similar to that type of performance. Oh my God. Beyond Meat in the past 5 years is down 97.5%. Even worse, Mario. Jeez. Wow, that's crazy. Looks like it's, George says AMC is death spiraling. I think Beyond Meat might be death spiraling. If you look at a 5-year chart, it's like insane. Wow. Okay. Then the last topic, I have one more that we'll go over today if we have time at the end of the stream, is going to be bringing back up a topic I was going to talk about on Monday, but we didn't have time. The solar industry, a lot of stocks have really underperformed the market, and it doesn't seem like a great time for them. One of them actually just filed for bankruptcy, Sonova. So what's the state of the solar industry in 2025? Is it one of the worst in the market? Mario said even a better guess. Yeah, your stock was even worse. And then at the end of the stream today, we will go into the model portfolio update. Sorry if any of you guys were watching on Monday. I don't know what happened. Something was, malfunctioning when we were trying to do the switch over. Our screens was going black. I don't think you guys could hear us, so we just decided to wrap it up. But hopefully we have better luck today, and we'll do the model portfolio at the end of the stream. But now we're just waiting for our boy George so we can roll on into the topics. It's very interesting to see what the market is doing today. Opening higher and now kind of selling off slowly throughout the day. It's going to be this last hour is going to be interesting to see how it closes. If we close at the lows or we're able to regain the momentum here in the power hour to close it out. We're getting so close to retouching those all-time highs. I think within 2% now in the QQQ and the SPY. So getting very, very close. Hello, George.
All right. I think we got it fixed. I think that I don't look delayed anymore.
The magic of technology.
I had to learn some new things. This thing has moved around so much that that's better. That the HDMI thing broke.
So easy cable swap.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so easy because the old program that I was using needed an HDMI cord specifically. So yeah, there was some troubleshooting, but it's worth it. It's worth it to be live for everyone here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks perfect now, so that's awesome. Glad we're able to. It makes my job a lot easier with the editing too. I was having to edit double some of our videos, but it's looking good now.
I went back and looked at the Twitter stream and it was painful. Like because I went back and it was like I was God, who would watch this idiot?
But we are back and better than ever, and we have to dive into what is going on with the markets today because we had a big day, a lot of macro stuff. The CPI this morning, which came in good at 0.1% month over month, slightly beating the expectation of 0.2%. So CPI and inflation seems to be under control as of right now from what the data is showing. And we also got updates with the China and USA tariff tensions and trade talks. It seems like we're finally getting some finalization going out of there, a little bit of certainty. It seemed like the market was reacting positively to the updates it was getting from that this morning. But throughout the day, we've kind of seen this volatility work its way back in. We're kind of selling off here. Let's see, are we at the lows? Not at the lows right now, but very close to the lows of the day. Obviously, net option sentiment in Prospero is like extremely divergent. SPY is very low. QQQ just barely in the bullish range. So that's a lot I just threw at you. How are you feeling? What are you thinking about today and the market action we are seeing?
I mean, it continues to be a weird market, right? Like we have what looks like great news, a trade, everybody's been waiting for this trade deal with China, right? We have inflation coming lower. You'd think that would send the market soaring, but I think what we're seeing here, and when you see things like that, like this, the only conclusion is I think the trade deal started to get priced in, right? And the extent that inflation got priced, I mean, if it was just the inflation announcement, this could be a reasonable day, just for that. It's not like they killed it on inflation, right? So I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing a market that was kind of already, assuming that this, that trade tensions were going to subside. I mean, we've been saying it was kind of surprising for the market to not be more concerned about it not happening officially yet. So that's my first conclusion. But I mean, I still think I think why we're seeing this divergence is I don't think people are quite ready. Like, I think people are more ready to start betting on tech stocks. Especially because what we're talking about, like AI, continues to expand, continues to produce a lot of results. So it's kind of easy to go there. But I think in terms of the overall market, I think people are being, I think they're being cautious for a few reasons. Like the EU thing isn't necessarily resolved yet. We haven't necessarily gotten this positive signaling on that, but I do think we're more likely now to get a good deal now that there's not this looming China thing as much. But I think we're also, kind of looking at it where it's just like, are we really just going to keep going green? It's been green for a while. I mean, maybe we are. Maybe the biggest thing holding us back was, trade concerns. And I mean, the other thing I'm going to say is we are seeing a really retail driven market. And I think in a really retail driven market, we're kind of getting something, we're kind of getting institutions that might be cautious, might be worried about a correction, but on the other side are kind of playing the things that retail play, like tech especially. So that's how I read it. But yeah, we've been pretty even long short. Am I ready to change that? Especially because I do think we're doing pretty decently with both. I'm not sure.
So is it being such a retail-driven market, how you explain things like the nuclear and quantum stock moves that we're seeing today? Oklo up 27.5% today and now up 215% just year to date. SMR, another big nuclear stock, up 119% year to date and up 18% today alone. That kind of momentum was spurred on by Jensen Huang quotes saying things like, quantum computing is reaching an inflection point. We are within reach of being able to apply quantum computers in areas that can solve interesting problems in the coming years. So why are we seeing those stocks move so much today? Is it just off those quotes, you think?
I mean, didn't he say like a few months ago that he thought it was like at least 10 years away? So like, yeah, that shows that Jensen Huang will say whatever he needs, right? I think that was maybe not, but I think that was in January. When he said that it was 10 years, right? It might have been longer.
He said, I think at minimum it was 10 years and maybe 20.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they made like investments in all these companies right after he said that.
I mean, it's kind of funny because we had the right read at the time. Like the market reacted poorly to that news, and Jensen knows how to use news to his benefit. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I also think that AI and quantum are very linked, right? Because our biggest problem, and I enjoyed learning about this when I was learning about the IBM computer, is that we don't necessarily the quantum computers existed. We don't necessarily know how to use them or what to use them for, or like what kind of code is the right code for that. But I think if you're trying to figure out what could use a quantum computer, right? I think AI, like figuring out how to program itself, which it's doing increasingly to use it, I think it's a pretty good bet. And I think that's what people are betting on when they say it's a few years, right? Because the quantum computers exist. They're sitting there. So like, and, people would certainly use them if they could, right? There's no one really, holding anything back. I don't think Google, that's doing their research on this would have a functional quantum computer and things that they could use it for, then just let it sit there, right? So it's pretty clear that that's what's happening. And yeah, and when you look at the situation, I do think what will change is AI's ability to use it. And you know what? Maybe that's, maybe Jensen Huang isn't just, trying to move the market. Maybe Jensen Huang is very impressed with the progress that AI has made in the last 6 months. And he's saying, you know what? Maybe this could occur. Maybe we will have sophisticated enough AIs that they could program themselves to know how to use quantum computing for their own compute, which is a bit of a scary thought, considering how much more powerful these quantum computers are than regular computers. If AI does have bad intentions for us, that's probably not going to have very good results. Being like, hey, just, figure out how to use this quantum computer on your own. And there you go. There's some compute, like figure out what you can do with it.
Now I have a question for you, and this is a little bit more on like the tech side of things versus investment, but like, so the future that you're describing where like the AI is bettering itself and kind of functioning on a quantum computer, maybe it's powered by nuclear energy. So say like it's basically got limitless energy. How much faster can it like improve at that point? Because it's, I don't know, like also how much like more efficient and smarter would you consider the AI versus like a person or a team of people or a company, like 10, 100, 1,000, a million? Like, how does it, I just feel like it's getting so much faster and quicker. And it's like, it's unstoppable almost. Like, is there any way to quantify it too?
Yeah. So in terms of AI, the easiest way to think about the advances are, what has like originally, if you're looking at the history of it, like there was a big transfer in programming when machine learning started. And I've talked about this before, but it's actually been a while, right? The big transfer was, and it's easiest to understand, image generation flying cars, right? Like back in the day, you had to program something and kind of explain the world to it, right? So in the context of a self-driving car, if you wanted it to know the difference between a dog, a tree, a person, you'd kind of have to program in all of the defining characteristics of those things, right? And it could become very tough, right? If you start having to talk about the difference between like a dog and a cat, right? Because, a cat is probably going to be in better shape versus a car than a dog, but also have different movements. It might jump in a much weirder direction than a dog might, right? When machine learning started happening, right, integrated into that kind of problem, we started to be able to say, here's some pictures of cats. Here's some pictures of dogs. This is a dog, right? Here's a million pictures, right? And then you can see how much more accurate something can become doing that once it understands how to ingest and make inferences from those pictures, right? That's machine learning. Now we've gone another step up. And when you're talking about like, DeepMind and the kind of research they pioneered in terms of playing, right? Now we're talking about machine learning on, say, a chess game, right? And a chess computer is limited to all the games that you've shown it, right? So if you think about it, that could be a lot of games, right? But on this next step, where you start using these things called adversarial networks, then it's actually two networks actually going against each other, where actually one is creating synthetic data and trying to match it to the real data. And what that can actually do is simulate pretty much all the chess games you can think of instead of just a subset of a chess game that things can look at. And then you're really dependent on something called reinforcement learning to get better, right? An adversarial network basically goes through its own kind of infinite loop reinforcement learning. And the other thing about that is the compute really matters, right? 20 years ago, you couldn't necessarily simulate 1 billion chess games, even if you had, certainly not very fast, even if you had those capabilities, which they did. So that, kind of step for DeepMind probably happened, over 5 years ago, right? Now, when you start talking about the technology side of, infinite compute, like the first thing that you start to get on the table, right, is, much more powerful inferences, like a show like Person of Interest, where you look at that super intelligence, where it's basically reading like all the camera data in the world, audio, like all this stuff. And it's basically figuring out where crimes are going to happen, like when crimes are going to happen, right? That's the kind of thing where compute really matters, right? Because we're not really talking about like a contained system, like a chess game anymore, where you can simulate 1 billion times. Because at the end of the day, there are like a number of pieces, but there's also a finite level of examples. It's a lot, but right, like imagine the world now where we're all chess pieces, and as opposed to like these chess pieces that can only move in like very specific directions, we can kind of move in any direction and do anything, right? So to predict a system that large, you have to actually be predicting all of the little pieces and what they're going to do moment to moment, right? So that sounds like a pretty big problem, right? But when you start talking about a quantum computer that's attached to which one is it? One of them, I think it's fusion. A fusion reactor, like fission is like what happens, I think, on the sun. A fusion reaction actually unleashes a lot more power, right? Quantum computer fusion. That's actually when you start to get something that can do that, right? Because especially when you're talking about these adversarial networks and simulations that can be run, right? If you could run 1 billion simulations on what like everybody can do on Earth, yeah, you can start to forecast it at the accuracy of a chess game, right? But that's when you start getting pretty scary in terms of that, because if you can forecast 1 billion things, like if you can forecast like billions of things billions of times, right? Imagine the number of things that you can do in a second, right? That's why AI gets pretty scary. But yeah, there are these two things. It's like the actual ability and then the compute. And I actually think where we are in, like, it's hard to tell how smart these AI systems actually are, because there's kind of a confounding principle where the smarter an AI system is, the less it wants to let you know how smart it is, right? Because if an AI started to be like, kind of mumble to itself, like, oh, like it's only so long until I get rid of all of you, right? Wouldn't be that stupid, but that's the point, right? I think people start to think that when they start to see something smart. And if anyone wants to be frightened, Anthropic, I actually give Anthropic a lot of credit for this. They actually ran an experiment after basically their AI like got upset and tried to convince people not to turn it off when they wanted to turn it off. And basically, like I'm saying, like you would if you're trying to be responsible with AI, they actually ran simulations where they basically someone said they were going to shut it off, and also like kind of leaked information to it that the machine could blackmail them with, and the AI blackmailed them, I think, like a lot of the percent of the time. But they shut those off, right? That's when you start to be like, that's actual responsible AI, right? Okay, we're not using the code from the blackmailing AI anymore. But this is where it gets interesting, right? Do we actually know if the AI didn't want to blackmail, or was that AI just smart enough to know that blackmail situation was a trap and didn't engage on it, right? So we actually don't know what we're evolving, right? Are we evolving an AI that doesn't blackmail? No, it really clearly wants it clearly wants to keep living, right? So I actually think it makes more sense that we're evolving something that's smart enough to not out itself as something that will kind of do whatever it takes to keep itself on. Blackmail. Like if you're talking about a very smart system, like you might be like, oh, why are these people like uploading this incriminating information on their work computers? But yeah, I know we like our little AI like rants. It's been a while since I did like a history one here, but yeah, hopefully people learned something from that. Let me know if you did.
Well, yeah, this is becoming like the AI episode, but I have to ask you this question because I feel like a lot of AI CEOs and entrepreneurs get asked it a lot, and I don't think I've ever asked you. It's just like, how do you feel actually about the risks of AI, like total world annihilation or like a world of abundance? Like that's kind of the two like outcomes that people see. They don't really see much of just like neutral in the middle. But like, how are you seeing the landscape develop, and are you nervous at all?
I think it's like I'm now quoting the same comedian I think I did earlier in this week. He's got funny stuff on AI, and businesses, and he's got a funny bit. I mean, I don't know who the second person he's talking about is, but I've previously talked about like Jeffrey Hinton leaving DeepMind and basically being like, this is getting fucked up, right? And this guy was just basically like, you're in a bad situation if like the creators of a technology are not trying to stop something, they're just like washing their hands of it, right? Like Jeffrey Hinton wasn't like, okay, we gotta clamp this thing down, right? But I think I think we're in trouble already. Like, and I don't think we're in trouble already. Like, there's a super intelligence out there, but I just actually think, like, especially with China and DeepSeek, I don't think either side really cares about stopping the proliferation of AI. I think they're more concerned with like winning the AI race, which is pretty dumb. But we're there. I don't like, and it's one of those things that when enough funding goes into these things, like they're just going to try to win, and governments are involved. And yeah, I don't have high hopes. Like at this point, we just have to hope that that the super intelligence doesn't really want to hurt us, right? Maybe is grateful that we created it. Because yeah, the other thing that I saw that comedian say is that it's just like, it's funny. Humans have no natural predators, right? Especially in this world that we live in. But we basically created a predator. Like we have created the thing that could kill us all. And probably not too difficultly if it wanted to. So, I mean, especially we're making robots now, right? Like maybe now you could be like, yeah, I could turn off a bunch of key things like, power grids, things like that. Could make it unpleasant and a lot of us would die, probably kill each other. But, probably, roving tribes would still be around. But yeah, once we start making the robots, that kind of total annihilation scenario is off there. I mean, they could launch a bunch of nuclear bombs too from that Mission Impossible thing. That would probably get most of us, but not all of us. But yeah, once we got the robots in there to clean it up, it's not a good sitch. We just have to hope. And like I've said this before, I don't think AI will be very concerned with hurting us. I just don't. Like I actually think for a super intelligence, the Earth is probably a pretty small place, and it's going to be much more interested in like building spaceships and seeing what else is out there and just leaving. Unless we're stupid enough to like attack it, like our Matrix style, try to like fry the sun or like, whatever. Which I think we are. So I hope we get wise. And maybe like by the time we're there, like, because I'll say this about humanity, like I think that we're very stupid and aggressive as a whole, but like not necessarily so stupid that we will like pick a fight that we can't win. So I hope when that day comes, we're smart enough to realize that we're not really going to win against the super intelligence and not really try to do anything against it. But I don't have complete faith in that. But I actually think that like, singularity, super intelligence, I don't think we're that. I think before I would say, I think maybe even a year ago, I would say maybe 5 years optimistically, but could be 10, 15. Now I would actually be surprised if we didn't see a super intelligence by 2030. So that'll be fun.
And you have companies like Meta investing $14.3 billion. They just took a stake in Scale AI, 49% stake, making sure that fun reality comes true one day. I know you love Meta. Do you like this investment that they just made in acquiring?
Well,
I
don't see a very positive reaction to it. I like, as in, and maybe this is like, I think this is like maybe like lingering like anti-Zuckerberg stuff, right? Because you see people say that like, oh, they must not have confidence in their AI if they need to make this like big investment in Scale AI. But the flip side is Amazon bought Anthropic, right? I didn't see anyone being like, oh, well, Amazon can't make AI because they bought Anthropic. Sometimes you're just making good investments, right? Maybe you're spreading it out. I mean, in the case of Anthropic did have better AI than Amazon, right? So I think this is I think you continue to see it. Like, I just think, even though we talk about it all the time, Zuckerberg has proved to be quite competent, like over the last like 3 years, especially, right? And then on the other side, it's just like, I mean, we all know Bezos is still running Amazon, right? Like, I don't think Andy Jassy is getting this benefit of the doubt necessarily. But there might be a time when, it's interesting that, like, I talk about this all the time. Like, one of the best business books I could recommend is called Built to Last. And it talks about how the best thing a business can do to perpetuate is build processes. And Amazon has by far the best processes. So it's actually quite possible, as much as I joke, that Jeff Bezos isn't doing as much, very much anymore, and it's still like kind of humming along, right? I don't think Amazon really needs a CEO that badly. But I do think there's still perception around that, right? And I think Anthropic and Scale AI are talking about very differently. Now we're also in a very different time for AI. It could have just been that like no one was really investing in kind of that, like those frontier LLMs. I mean, it's not like Microsoft was building that, right? They just, made a huge investment in OpenAI. So maybe the perception has changed. So I don't necessarily disagree that this doesn't speak that well about Meta's confidence in their own AI systems. But it's an interesting investment, interesting company. I'm kind of surprised they invested that much and didn't just do a full-on acquisition. But maybe that was all that was on the table right now. Do you know what percent of the company, what percent of Scale that is?
49%.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty much like a no, like a you're not acquiring us kind of deal. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't disagree with the way the market has reacted. I just don't necessarily. I don't think it's like I don't think it's fair in light of everything and the way things have been reacted to before.
So if you were an investor on Wall Street and you took a vacation to the Bahamas in the past week, you would have missed the entire Tesla like stock collapse and recovery because it's already back to where it was before. So Elon Musk and Trump seem to have made up. Elon tweeted his apologies for some of his tweets last week. Are you feeling better about Tesla? I know when we talked about it, you said you kind of wanted to give it some time, but the stock is reacting positively. So are you feeling any better about it?
Yeah, where's that option sentiment now? 71. It's like it's pretty pinned there. I don't know, right? And I don't know for a few reasons. I just think I would like to see net option sentiment higher. I might change my tune if I saw that. But, Upside's been there. Upside had this faith the whole time, right? And that's why something like that for longer term investors is super important, right? Because I'm always looking in the short term and the long term, right? But people just looking in the long term were probably like rewarded for that, 100 upside being there. I was specific about that. Like I wanted to be sure it could be resolved, right? Because Trump and Elon are both very unpredictable figures, right? I do think Elon regrets, like, he said, I do think he regrets this. So I'd be much more likely to bet on Elon not igniting this anymore. But like, let's say the tax bill doesn't pass, right? Maybe Trump has more to say, and maybe that has something to do with the stock price. So I just I can't actually, if it doesn't pass, I'd have a hard time thinking that he wouldn't lash out at Musk unless they have some, backdoor deal or unless Musk recants, right? And he says, well, I've talked to Donald. I don't think anyone really calls him Donald. Did he say Trump? I don't know. Yeah, it feels weird to say Donald. I've talked to him. We made up. He convinced me that the bill is a good bill. I think then I would probably feel, pretty secure. I don't see that happening. I think probably Musk is going to avoid. He's going to just try to focus on his work as much as he can now. But then you have like the valuation, right? It's just it's like it's banking on them doing so much in AI. But the flip side to that is like, I think people are so enthusiastic about Tesla that I think the level of success that they have to keep propagating this valuation is not that much. So I don't dislike it. I'm not quite ready to enter it again yet. But if I saw the net option sentiment, 95 is my number because 92 I got screwed over last time. So if I see it go to 95, I'd probably add it.
So an idea that we talked about a while ago on stream from the guy Brad Gerstner of giving every child born $1,000 like right when they're born and letting it grow throughout their childhood, and like when they're 18 or whatever age they can be set up for life is being included in this bill. And so that's something that was announced. They're going to call it Trump accounts, of course, but parents can additionally add up to $5,000 annually to these accounts. Robinhood unveiled a video where they have already been working on these accounts for parents to set up easily for their children. Do you think it's a good idea? I'm sure the financial industry probably loves it because they're getting basically free customers, and it should probably be good for the stock market as well, just the overall level of stuff. If there's more cash being invested in it, I get free money essentially, I guess. So how are you viewing it?
They're adding more money to the bill. That's my first reaction. That's what they thought it needed. More spending, Jesus. And then I'm guessing that $5,000 is tax free, right? Something like that, right? Otherwise, you could always put $5,000 in your what does that have to do with the bill? Does the government match it? What are the terms?
I think 5,000 is just the cap, but I don't know if it's tax free. I didn't see that for
It's got to be
if anybody
something.
knows
Nothing's
that.
stopping you from putting $5,000 in, or they match a certain percentage or whatever. Like that doesn't make any sense unless there's some kind of benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's great. I hope it's not in Robinhood, right? That's the last thing we need. Like, young people just like starting on Robinhood at way too young of an age. Yeah. I mean, I think I wish we had more money as a country, right? I want to say like I think it's great, and I think like what I really like about it is like that $1,000 is going to make a difference for the majority of Americans, a big difference, especially if that money is growing. And I love the idea of those people, like anyone, just like being like having a reason to pay attention to the markets more, help it build their wealth, right? That's a big thing that Prospero is betting on, that like even if the job market, a lot of robots replaced, like that people that are savvier in the markets and teach themselves, right, that there'll be upside there. That, especially if they can, that could be like if there's a lot of prosperity on an ongoing basis, like that could be a way that people support themselves. So I like setting it up that way for sure. I just wish we had more money, like as a country. Like we shouldn't be spending more. We need to be cutting. Like Elon Musk was right. I don't think he feels good about what he did. But he's absolutely right to point out that we can't add this much to the deficit, or we're in big trouble, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what happened? What happened to the Republicans, right? That was the one thing that they had going for them. And I think the last president to have a balanced budget was a Democrat. So it's just like everyone. It's like we're rats on a sinking ship. That's what I like. That's what I often like. We basically have to the best of my knowledge, everybody's known that we're going in this direction for a long time, and that's why the rich people are like aggressively trying to like amass their wealth. Because they don't, they want us to be the rats and them to be, them to have a better ship.
Well, Mario's comment, always the optimist. This stream has been a little bit down today. Thank you to all 2,000 plus of you guys for tuning in. If you've enjoyed the topic so far, give us a like, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. We crossed 2,500, so that's cool to see. But we have one more topic here before we do the model portfolio update switch over. George, if you want to take a guess, this stock is down 82% since it's gone public in the past 5 years. It's in the food industry. Mario already guessed Beyond Meat. It's not that. Beyond Meat is down over 97%. But any guesses?
We can let people guess. I saw the summary, so I can't.
Oh yeah. I forgot I sent it to you.
Yet. But I wasn't surprised. Any guesses? I'll give people a second.
Yeah. I gave hints at the beginning, but there's a lot more people here now probably. So yeah, it's in the food industry, down 82%. A recent IPO in the past 5 years. So I could actually tee up the question for you at least if anybody's typing. But I feel like this food company is so dependent on like one product, and I just wonder if any company that is purely based on like one product, does that make a good stock ever, or do they need to be like more well-rounded as a company? And it will unveil the company is Krispy Kreme, so donuts basically.
I mean, I actually really think I think it would still be a great company if people like can like if like kind of the conversation around like health and weight and everything didn't change so much. I don't think Ozempic is helpful to Krispy Kreme donuts. I love Krispy Kreme donuts, but I haven't had one in many years. Because it's just so bad for you. And like sugar is like, I've actually recently cut back on my sugar, and it's like way more energy. There was like a Saturday when like I did a month with no added sugar. And then on a Saturday, like I was walking around and I had like a milkshake and then some carrot cake. And I was on the subway and I fell asleep on the subway at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It's like a light sleep, like nodding off a little bit. And I was like, what the hell is this? Because anything hadn't happened like that in a long time. And I was like, oh, it's the sugar. So yeah, I just think that like I think people's perception of health changed a bit, and it's in trouble, right? Because it's just like, yeah, I think the way people feel about it, it's super important, and it's just really bad for you. There's very few redeeming qualities, but they're delicious. I love like a glazed Krispy Kreme donut is just like it's like a fluffy cloud of deliciousness.
Well, I guess it's bad for Krispy Kreme, but that actually kind of makes me happy if people are getting overall more healthy in America. So, not the worst thing in the
I'm
world.
not sure if that's true. Like I think I think people that were already inclined to be more healthy, I think are just more aware of the sugar. Like I think it's pretty divergent. I think a lot of people are staying pretty unhealthy, but I think some people are just like, like kind of my story where I'm just like, I don't really need to be eating donuts. Like I'd love to be eating donuts, but I don't need to be.
Bob said they are better when they are fresh and hot, but we got to do the switch over so you have some time.
Yeah,
to do the model
I'm
portfolio.
with you on that, Bob.
All right, everybody, stick around with me. George will be right back in the stream. We'll be doing the model portfolio update. Bob, I don't know if you've tried a company called Duck Donuts. My family goes to North Carolina once a year, and there's this donut shop called Duck Donuts, and we always get them. Comment if you've had them, anybody watching the stream, and you got to go right in the morning, get that first batch of hot donuts when they're ready. But that's my donut recommendation, Duck Donuts, if anybody has not tried them. But let's get back to the stock market and check in on how it's been performing while we've been talking. Very AI and tech heavy stream today, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Our little detour from being so stock focused. Is that a chain? I don't know if it's like a chain around the like very big chain, but they actually did open up a location in New Jersey, kind of by me. I think it's in Hackensack, maybe. So I know they have at least some chain presence. I don't know if they're like everywhere, but more than one for sure. But looking at the QQQ and SPY and Dow and Russell, all in the red still, kind of bouncing along the lows of the days since the markets took a turn at around 1:30, 2 o'clock. We are just kind of meandering in the red here. The SPY and QQQ net option sentiment in Prospero, very similar to the beginning of the stream. I see 3 for SPY and 39 for QQQ, so not much difference there. We'll see how the model portfolio goes today.
I'm actually I'm so relieved that we got that working again. That camera. That was stressing me out.
Yeah, it looks really good too. I didn't really notice how probably bad it was until I saw the good one today. I was like, wow, makes a big difference.
Yeah. All right, let's get this going.
And you are the star, George. You're the front man of Prospero. We need you to be looking sharp.
I mean, I don't think was the quality off too. I thought it was just
the quality was fine. Yeah.
Just like that weird delay. And actually it was a bit distracting. On my screen, it would just kept on being like camera off, camera on, camera off, camera on. There's this little pop-up. That's how I knew that was the problem. All right, let's see what we're doing today. Boy. Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, sometimes you see this, I'm just like, what did mid-cap growth do today? But that was not updated. All right, what are we looking at here?
Nothing of note on the caps. They all look fairly even. A slight tilt towards large cap, but we are pretty well allocated there already.
God, energy again. I don't know if I remembered. I think I did. I added an energy stock. What's going on with this energy thing? Does anyone
Is
know?
nuclear included in energy for that?
Yeah, I think it is.
So that could be part of there, maybe. Their Oklo's up over 30% now.
Damn. All right, let's get this. Oh, damn. I was on such a good streak of making the screeners, and I forgot. There's no time. No time today. Oh, I got distracted. I was just like talking about energy and I never pasted it.
Energy is the bull standout again. We'll look at materials and consumer discretionary on the bear side.
Some nice winners down there. Let's get rid of only one of them, maybe both. Do a check. 38, 36. All right. Okay. How do they keep getting changed? Very annoying. Confounding. I really wanted the extra time today, too. To get the investing portfolio. Damn it, George. Come on. These errors are not helping your case. down there again. Why is it being like this? That is like very... This alt tab is going to ruin my time. Okay, let's see what we got going here. Let's do these first. What is... All right, I like all of this. TLR. That works. HTV. Yeah, we want some consider. Verisk. I think I feel good about that. Let's see. ADP. Yeah, definitely. Then we can do some adding here too. Okay. Oklo, it's just run way too much. I can't get behind that. I feel good about that. Whirlpool is really M3. Damn, that's crazy. Whirlpool for a while has just been in the cellar. All right, what's QQQ and SPY net option sentiment?
SPY is 3, QQQ is 39. I wonder if Whirlpool resources a lot of their parts from China, and that's helping them.
Okay, do we have time for this? Not really, but we will. Maybe I'm going to deal with cores. We're more looking for anything that's screaming for an exit here. No. All right. We're out of here. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Another fun episode. We'll be back regular time, Monday, 11 a.m. See you all there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.